Dr. Shaw, what is your current position?
I'm a professor of psychiatry in the Department of Psychiatry at Stanford. I also run what's called the Psychiatry Consult Service at the Children's Hospital at Stanford.
That's nice.
What, if any, professional certifications have you received?
I have what's called board certification in adult and general psychiatry. I obtained that from the American Board of Psychiatry and Neurology in 1991. And then I obtained subspecialty board certification in child and adolescent psychiatry in 1993.
Are you a member of any professional organizations in the field of psychiatry?
Yes, I am. I'm a member of the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry. I'm also a member of the Academy of Consultation Liaison Psychiatry.
How long have you been practicing psychiatry?
If you include my training in psychiatry residency in the US, that would be since 1985.
Is that approximately 35 years?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
God damn.
What percentage of your practice involves treating patients?
Yeah, approximately 3/4 of my time is working with patients. I work in the pediatric hospital, treating a combination of mainly children and adolescents with severe medical conditions.
Shit.
But also working with parents of children who have severe medical conditions. I also consult to the pediatric emergency room, and we evaluate patients who show up with suicide attempts and other serious situations.
What does the remaining quarter of your practice entail?
Well, as a professor, I have to do a number of academic activities. So I do research, I do a lot of teaching, I give lectures, I supervise residents, medical students, and fellows in psychiatry. I do some administrative work. Yeah, so it's a pretty diverse, varied day and week.
It seems that way.
Can you tell the jury a little bit about your research and academic work?
Yeah, a lot of my research has involved looking at the issue of trauma and PTSD in parents who have medically fragile children. A lot of these parents are naturally really affected by their
Makes sense.
their child's illness and develop trauma symptoms. So I've developed some interventions to try to help parents, provide support and treatment to reduce their symptoms of trauma.
Fuck, that sucks, man.
Have you published articles or books in your area of expertise?
Yes, I have. I've published approximately 70 or probably closer to 80 peer-reviewed manuscripts in different scientific journals. I've also published a number of book chapters on various topics, approximately 30. And I have published 3 textbooks, one of which has gone into a second edition on topics that are related to my area of expertise. And one of them actually is about the treatment of PTSD in parents of premature infants.
Wow. Okay.
Have you published a book through the APA?
Actually, all of those books were published through the APA, the American Psychiatric Association. They have a publishing house, and that's been my publishing company.
What is the APA?
The APA, the American Psychiatric Association, not to be confused with the American Psychological Association, is a professional organization that represents psychiatrists in the U.S. The last time I looked at this, I think there's about 37 or 38,000 members. And the APA has many different roles. One of it is advocacy in psychiatry in the US, but it also has an important role in terms of education. So they host an annual scientific meeting every year in which psychiatrists will present their research. It publishes a number of journals in the field, and fairly frequently it publishes guidelines for professional practice or about ethical guidelines that they hope that the members will follow as part of their practice.
Like
what
the ones
ways are
that
you
other
involved
guy
with the
did.
APA?
Yeah, remember?
I mentioned my publishing. I also present at the scientific meetings. I last presented in 2021 during COVID. It was virtually, but on the topic of group therapy for parents with trauma symptoms.
Sure.
I follow the APA and their various guidelines. I think it's a really influential and important institution.
Great. Okay.
Going back to your credentials, what, if any, professional awards have you received?
I've been given several teaching awards at Stanford University, and the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry that I mentioned honored me with an award for service to my specialty several years ago. I don't remember exactly when.
Have you given any public presentations in the field of psychiatry?
Yes, that's part of our work as an academic psychiatrist, is to lecture, to give presentations.
Jesus.
So I present fairly frequently at annual
Holy
scientific
shit,
meetings, as
man.
I mentioned. I've been invited to give grand round presentations at different medical centers, including University of Pennsylvania and Harvard. So that's just part of our role is to try to educate our colleagues about our work.
Okay.
Have you testified as an expert in the field of psychiatry before?
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
On how many occasions?
I would estimate, in terms of deposition and trial testimony, approximately 50 times in the past 15, 20 years.
Wow. There's a lot.
What type of cases did you testify as an expert in?
They're pretty varied. So some of them have been medical malpractice. I've also done a number of cases evaluating victims who've been subject to physical or sexual assault or trauma.
Sucks.
What work were you asked to do in this case?
My role in this case was to give my opinions about the testimony and opinions of Dr. Spiegel, whom you heard from yesterday morning.
And what work have you done to form your opinion?
I was present yesterday in court listening to his testimony.
Dr. Spiegel.
I have viewed his depositions. He had 2 depositions earlier this year, and I watched those depositions. I've also read a lot of deposition testimony. For example, testimony by Mr. Depp's psychiatrist, Dr. Blaustein, by his physician, Dr. Kipper, and nurse Debbie Lloyd. I've reviewed depositions by many of the therapists involved in this case, including Dr. Banks, the relationship consultant, Dr. Cohen, who was Ms. Heard's therapist, and I think Dr. Anderson, who I think provided some couples therapy. I've also reviewed the medical records of Dr. Kipper and Dr. Blaustein.
So he's looked at everything.
And some various email communications.
Okay.
I think a lot of the information that has been talked about here.
Thank you. Your Honor, at this time, we'd like to offer Dr. Shaw as an expert in the field of psychiatry.
Any objection? Okay.
Yeah, there's the objection. I knew it. Yeah, I'm not surprised about that one at all. Yeah. What level is this guy? I don't think anybody knows. Like, this guy has a lot of fucking credentials. God damn. He's like helping sick kids. What do you, he published stuff 50 times? Multiple textbooks? Oh my God, man. Yeah, this guy's brought them up. Yeah, they're just like, all right, we need an objection right now. This is already going to look bad. Grandmaster Healer? Yeah, exactly. Like, it's just so funny to see how this guy acts compared to the last guy, Dr. Spiegel. He just, bro, that guy was, to be fair, it was probably the most entertaining part that we've had so far. It was really fucking funny watching that guy just completely self-destruct on the stand. However, it, maybe it's not necessarily the best kind of guy to have on there to make them look good. You know what I mean? Yeah, Smeagol versus Gandalf. Yeah, that's basically where we're at. Oh my god. And what's this here? No, Romero's more entertaining. Yeah, maybe that guy was good. You're right.
So any
Okay,
objection?
here we go.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, so
All right.
he'll be moved as an expert. Thank you.
No objection.
Dr. Shaw, you testified that you observed Dr. Spiegel's testimony yesterday.
Yes, that's correct.
Unfortunately.
And to reorient the jury, can you please generally describe the main areas in which Dr. Spiegel testified?
Yes, he.
Objection, Your Honor. They heard what he testified to. What's his opinion
All right.
about?
Foundation to reorient them?
That's
What?
okay. We can move forward.
Okay. Do you have an opinion of Dr. Spiegel's testimony?
Yes, I do.
And what is your opinion?
I have a couple of primary opinions. The first is that my opinion is that he violated the ethical principles that are outlined in the Goldwater Rule when he gave his opinions about Mr. Depp, specifically with relationship to personality
Substance abuse disorder?
traits and his cognitive abilities.
Yeah.
My second primary opinion would be that that Dr. Spiegel's opinions were unreliable and that he had insufficient information.
Objection, Your Honor.
All right. You're going to approach?
Objection for what? Okay, yeah, there it is. It's so this guy, the first thing he does, I've had multiple opinions. First one is he violated the ethical principles. Like he's like, objection, we're losing. This is not, no. I mean, come on. Let's call it timeout. Yeah, nope. Expert on the stand, experting. Yeah, it's weird to see what it looks like whenever they have an actual expert on the stand versus somebody who's not an expert. You know, like it's a night and day difference. It's like they actually know what they're talking about. It's like, especially the Warner Brothers guy. That was my favorite part, is how that lawyer thought that she was going to trip up the president of the DC universe about his own movies. It's like, oh, did you read the script? He's like, yeah, I read every single script. That's my job. Oh. Okay, all right, well, next question. Let's see. Yeah, it's like, well, did you hear this, or was it talked about? It was talked about. We had a conversation about it. So it's not written down anywhere? It's like, no, why would we write it down? Oh. Okay, all right. Let's go on to the next one. All right, and that was it. Yeah, it's a completely different fucking universe. It's like, it's almost like they expect the witnesses, the Johnny Depp witnesses, to be as unreliable and as just full of shit as their own witnesses. That's almost what it feels like to me. Yeah, holy shit. Sorry, baby, we don't write shit down. Yeah, there's no reason to do that. Johnny experts and Amber ones are one night a day. Yeah, exactly. Not someone who just does it for the money, like that 5K doctor. Yeah, it's like, again, he was getting paid by the hour. So as soon as they just let him go, it's like he started explaining, like, this is, like his moral principle on this idea that's actually not related to fucking anything that anybody's talking about. But now that we got here, I might as well explain it because, now we're talking about it. It wouldn't make sense if I stopped explaining it, right? So I'm just going to keep talking and keep explaining this just as much as they need to. Holy fuck, man. What happens for a dude following the guy on Twitter? Nothing. I mean, like, people follow other people on accident all the time. I think that's what I've done before too. Yeah, he actually was following the Johnny Depp person. Perjury has to be made intentionally, and you have to, like, intentionally make a false statement while you're under the oath, right? So it's like, is it reasonable for a person to just accidentally follow somebody on Twitter? Yeah, sure, I would expect that. I mean, definitely. And also, the person could have changed their name too. You can change your @ and you can also change your name. Now, is that what happened? I don't know. But there are a number of circumstances that could be the case, and I don't think it's necessarily unexpected. He just unfollowed? Yeah, I mean, of course. Why would he doesn't want to deal with that shit. But yeah, I mean, we clearly saw that he was following him, right? I opened it up on my stream. It was right there. I don't know. Do I still have it up there? It looks like I do not. Okay, so I can't pull it up again, unfortunately. I'm sorry, guys. And holy shit, the court's process just throwing people in jail just for minor incident like that. Yeah, it's have to be malicious and intentional. Exactly. Like, they're not going to waste their time. Some guy thought he didn't follow somebody on Twitter, and it turned out that he did. This is like a third-party witness that's just some guy that showed up like he was ready for a smoke session. Yeah, what about, and then also the best part is they used the tweet that he did against Elon. Here's some free speech for you. Fuck you, Elon Musk. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, it's like as if this is somehow an indicator of this person's character. You know what I mean? He was hacked by Amber. Yeah, exactly. About to take a stream clip of him following his evidence for perjury. Listen, dude, I'm down for that. That'd be great. Judge is ready for this to be over. Obama is following the guy on Twitter now. No, he was following him before he even went on there, man. Yeah, exactly. What the woman on Yellow does every day. So her job, she's called the stenographer. I believe that's the word. And she just literally types up every single thing that's said. That's all she does, is just type everything onto a document. Yeah, she's a typing machine. Okay, here we go. Yeah, keyboard wizard.
Dr. Shaw, you mentioned the Goldwater Rule. What led up
Yes.
to the publication of the Goldwater Rule?
The Goldwater Rule came about in response to an incident that occurred during the 1964 presidential election when Senator Barry Goldwater was running as a Republican candidate. And there was a magazine called Fact Magazine that started a campaign to discredit Senator Goldwater.
See how he knows everything about
And they
it
obtained a mailing list from the AMA and
versus the other guy?
sent out a single survey questionnaire to about 12,000 psychiatrists in the US, asking if they felt that Senator Goldwater was fit to run for office.
Wow.
And about 2,000 psychiatrists responded, 1,000 of whom expressed very negative opinions about Senator Goldwater and made comments such as, for example, he was a megalomaniac, he was a paranoid schizophrenic, that he had narcissistic personality disorder.
Yeah. Guy was an
And as a
asshole.
result of that, he was
lost.
replaced as a candidate, and then went on to sue Fact Magazine for defamation of character. And he was successful in that lawsuit. And in response to this incident, the American Psychiatric Association, that I think was really concerned about how psychiatry was being represented and statements psychiatrists were making about someone they had never met or evaluated, issued the Goldwater Rule. And the main premise of the Goldwater Rule was that it was improper for a psychiatrist to render a professional opinion about a public figure unless they had personally and closely evaluated them.
Which makes sense.
What justifications did the APA provide, other than the ones you mentioned, for enacting the Goldwater Rule?
They wanted to make sure that psychiatric illness wasn't being stigmatized.
Yeah.
They wanted to
That's a very good point.
ensure that individuals weren't defamed by statements made by a psychiatrist that weren't backed up by medical evidence.
Defamed.
And
Huh.
they also wanted to preserve the integrity of the psychiatric profession, since I think the public in general, when a psychiatrist speaks out publicly and expresses an opinion, a psychiatric opinion, people generally like to take that seriously, and the APA wanted to make sure that those opinions were credible and could be relied upon.
Have there been any
That makes
updates
sense.
to the Goldwater Rule?
Yeah, since 1973, which was when the Goldwater Rule first came out,
Holy shit.
there have been a number of revisions and publications by the APA. They're called Annotations in Psychiatry, in which the Goldwater Rule has been better defined and expanded
he just knows.
to some degree. So, for example, in 2017, in this this publication, the APA reasserted that it was not ethical to provide a psychiatric or professional opinion about someone who had not been evaluated personally by that psychiatrist, that it was unethical to provide an evaluation without obtaining consent from that individual.
Oh. And consent.
They also sort of really kind of defined what a professional opinion is, and how they defined it is that an opinion that a psychiatrist expresses about someone's speech, behavior, or any characteristic about that person, if that opinion is made using the expertise, experience, and knowledge inherent in the practice of psychiatry, that is considered a professional opinion. So it might include making a diagnosis or not making a diagnosis. And
so it doesn't include making, it's not only
I think a couple
diagnosis.
of important things about that 2017 document were that the APA specified that if a psychiatrist is to give an opinion about someone, about the diagnosis or personality characteristics, whatever, that they have to follow an appropriate methodology. They have to do an evaluation that follows the standard practice of a psychiatrist here in the US. And if they don't do that, they are considered to be, affecting the integrity of both the psychiatrist and the psychiatric profession.
That's what they would be considered.
And this revision of the Goldwater rule definitely received a lot of support. The president of the APA at the time stated that breaking the Goldwater rule was irresponsible, stigmatizing, and definitely unethical. So that was a very strong statement from the president of the APA.
Yeah, I would say so, absolutely.
What other medical
big.
organizations have weighed in on this issue?
Yeah, the number of organizations have their own sort of version of the Goldwater rule. The American Medical Association, that represents physicians in the US, has an annual meeting, and they have what's called a Council of Ethical and Judicial Affairs, and they had a meeting in 2017 in Honolulu, and they came up with their own statement about the issue of whether physicians can provide opinions without directly evaluating somebody. And their opinion was that physicians should refrain from giving a psychiatric diagnosis about any public figure, including celebrities and people in the media.
So this was even in the AMA?
Are there exceptions to the Goldwater rule?
Oh, this is good to know.
There are exceptions, yeah. And I think Dr. Spiegel had a lot to say about this yesterday when he was saying that if you couldn't express an opinion without evaluating someone, it sort of made the whole specialty or role of experts in the court sort of null and void. But there are exceptions and situations in which an expert can give testimony in court. So one good example would be if there was a medical malpractice case, or if there was a case that involved a patient who'd committed suicide and the courts wanted to find out whether the psychiatrist had followed appropriate practice. The expert can review medical records.
Like one of his patients?
And can give an opinion based on those records, provided those records have sufficient information, for example, about the diagnoses, about the treatment, about how the patient was responding or not responding to treatment.
Did you form an opinion about whether Dr. Spiegel complied with the Goldwater rule?
Well, my opinion is that he did not. He expressed a number of professional opinions about Mr. Depp that we heard about yesterday. And again, he did so without an evaluation, without consent. He did not follow the guidelines of the APA in the 2017 revision, where it was considered important that there be sufficient information obtained by that expert to give an opinion. So I would definitely felt that his conduct, unfortunately, did violate the Goldwater rule.
And
Dr.
specifically, what
Spiegel in
opinions
shambles.
that Dr. Spiegel gave yesterday do you feel violated the Goldwater rule?
Yeah, I think that, well, there were sort of two primary ones.
Yeah.
The first that you heard about was that Dr. Spiegel had professional opinions about Mr. Depp's personality. And he talked a lot about how he believed that Mr. Depp had narcissistic personality traits. Mm-hmm. So, and he also, talked a lot about narcissistic personality disorder. So, narcissistic personality disorder is a diagnosis in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. It's called the DSM-5 for short. It's a diagnostic manual published by the APA.
Objection, Your Honor. Can we break for a moment?
Okay.
Just smiling. This guy knows everything. Yes, it's his job. He's a lecturer. You know what the odds are? Is he probably gave this same lecture to his students 20 years ago. This is just like another day. Yeah, he's an actual expert. Yeah, he knows what the fuck's going on because it's his job to know what the fuck is going on. Exactly, yeah. He knows. Yeah, it's great, man. Holy shit. And every year since then. Yeah, exactly. So this guy is he's got 37 fucking years experience. He's published 50 times, written multiple textbooks. Yeah, big fucking surprise. He knows what he's talking about. Yeah, and like, it's so funny whenever you compare him to the last guy. He's like, Goldwater rule? Yeah, so, isn't he dead? Is it Goldwater dead? So then, yeah, where's the rule? It's not there. I can have a rule if he's dead. Holy fuck, man.
Go ahead, Dr. Shaw, please continue.
Sure. So I was just talking about narcissistic personality disorder in the DSM-5. So the diagnostic criteria for that are, I'm not going to remember every word about this, but essentially it's a pattern of grandiosity, a need for admiration, a lack of empathy that's demonstrated by that person since young adulthood. And the DSM-5 has 9 specific criteria, and for someone to meet the diagnosis, you have to meet 5 of those criteria.
Yeah.
And so when,
What about all 9?
as a psychiatrist, we're trying to make a diagnosis of any personality disorder or any diagnosis in general, the normal professional guidelines would dictate that we would do a very careful diagnostic interview. And there are actually interviews specifically written to assess personality disorders. It's also possible to have the individual fill out questionnaires. There's something called the Narcissistic Personality Inventory.
Okay.
This is a 40-item checklist that taps into various components of narcissistic personality disorder. And it's also possible to get psychological testing, like the MMPI that I think you heard about in reference to one of the other experts here.
Test, I believe.
So with all of this information, including collateral information from family members, work colleagues, information of that sort, it is possible to come up with a diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder. So in the case of Dr. Spiegel, he had none of this information, even though he came out and stated with what he described as a degree of medical certainty that Mr. Depp had narcissistic personality traits. And if you remember somewhat towards the end of his testimony yesterday, he was asked to, since he couldn't provide any documentation from the medical record about narcissistic personality disorder or narcissistic personality traits, he was asked about what is referred to a lot in his testimony as record evidence.
Okay.
So information that he obtained from depositions, from text messages, from emails, whatever. And so he was asked to give, I think, 5 examples of record evidence that would make it seem like Mr. Depp met criteria for narcissistic personality traits. And I'll just mention a couple of them, just to illustrate. My opinion is that testimony did not really hold together.
Oh, let's count examples.
So he stated, for example, that one of the criteria for narcissism is narcissistic personality disorder is a sense of entitlement. And the example Dr. Spiegel gave is that he believed that Ms. Heard married him for his money. So clearly, sense of entitlement is from a psychiatry perspective, that's very different from a belief that someone wanted you for your money. A second example that was given was that he was asked to give an example of how Mr. Depp had shown that he was envious of others, which is another criterion for narcissistic personality disorder. And the example that Dr. Spiegel gave is that Mr. Depp was jealous of Ms. Heard because he believed she was having an affair with Mr. Franco. Now, if we look at these two terms as a psychiatrist, there's a big difference between being envious and being jealous. As a psychiatrist, when I think about envy, I think about somebody wants something that someone else has, and it makes them feel
Objection, Your
bad.
Honor. I think this is going beyond his
All right.
investigation.
He's giving his opinion as to how Dr. Spiegel violated the Goldwater rule with respect to his testimony about narcissistic personality traits.
He did, but now sustain the objection. Next question.
Okay. Okay, and you mentioned
I was
2
actually
major
curious what he was gonna
examples.
say.
What was the second one?
Okay.
The second one was confusing being envious with being jealous.
Oh, sorry, Dr. Shaw. I mean, you mentioned 2 major examples of ways Dr. Spiegel violated the Goldwater rule. What is the second?
Oh, sure. So the other big category had to do with Dr. Spiegel's evaluation of Mr. Depp's cognitive abilities.
Oh, sure.
And
can
his
move on.
general opinion was that Mr. Depp had deficits in his memory, in his attention, in his processing speed, that he had word-finding difficulties. Again, Dr. Spiegel did not evaluate Mr. Depp, and the information that he relied upon, there were two pieces of information. The first was that he watched a very long deposition that Mr. Depp gave the day after I think he had flown back from London to the East Coast. And he made observations about Mr. Depp's behavior in that deposition, and felt that he could opine or give an opinion about processing speed and other cognitive aspects. He also made reference to something you heard about yesterday, this thing called the mini mental status examination.
Okay.
This is a brief
The 30-point
screen
thing.
for memory and cognitive functioning that is often done. And he testified that Dr. Blaustein had administered the mini mental status examination. And although, from the records, all we know is that...
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustain the objection.
Dr. Shaw, without going into Dr. Blaustein's record, what information does a mini mental exam provide?
Objection, Your Honor. It's beyond the scope of his designation.
Overruled as to that limited question.
Okay. All right. Let's see it.
Yeah, so the mini mental status is it's a series of about 10 or 11 questions and tasks that someone completes, and you get a score out of 30. What Dr. Spiegel testified was that Mr. Depp could not recall 3 words after 5 minutes, and he used that as an example of Mr. Depp having cognitive deficits that he specifically attributed to Mr. Depp's alcohol and substance abuse. And he really did not have sufficient information. I liken a mini mental status exam, it's like taking someone's temperature.
Oh.
If it's elevated...
Objection, Your Honor. I think it's going beyond
All right.
designation.
I'll sustain the objection.
Okay.
Okay. So it's really not that big of a deal.
Sure. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I know you had a break, but we didn't. So we're going to go ahead and take our afternoon break for 15 minutes. Do not discuss
Okay.
the case and do not do any outside research, okay? You can stay right there, Doctor.
Holy shit. I think this is so fucking funny for me. Let him speak? No, it's okay. He's gonna come back. He's gonna talk about more stuff, etc. It's not like he's done. Like, I find it to just be so fucking funny to listen to this guy who just clearly knows.
All right, you're excused for the 15 minutes too, sir, Doctor. Okay, we'll come back at 4:17 then. Finish the day.
All right,
Okay.
sounds good. Let's go back over here. I'll put on a little bit of music and we'll get back to this. So it's so funny for me to see this guy talk about everything because it's just so obvious. Like, he knows exactly what he's talking about. He is completely informed about everything. I think you could even say, you could go as far to say that he is an expert in the subject. You know what I mean? Like, I really feel like that's possible. Yeah, he's unfazed and educated and everything. Yeah, because he knows what he's talking about. Yes, he's an actual expert on the subject. As I said, it's like the way that Amber Heard's lawyers question their, like, Johnny Depp's witnesses or Johnny Depp's experts are the same way that they would question their own experts because they know that their own experts are full of shit. So what are they doing instead? Oh, well then now they're trying to ask them these stupid little gotcha questions and everything. Like, can you imagine this guy? Like, I can't wait for the other lawyer to try to, trip this guy up. I mean, that's just gonna be fucking funny. Check Twitter. Yeah, I'll look at Twitter in a minute, okay? Oh, yeah, here we go. Oh my god. Oh no. Yep, that's just about fucking right, boys. Oh my god. Wow, I'm not surprised at all about this. Voice is so soothing. Yeah, this guy's relaxing. I could listen to him all day. This is amazing. Oh my god, man. Holy fucking shit. And this guy, I mean, holy shit. This guy, like, what was he doing? Like, I'm just so confused about this, man. It's awful. And let me go back. I'm going to see a few more of these. And, oh no, like, there's more than one of this? Holy shit. The product you buy on Wish and what you receive 2 months later. Just... I mean, this guy... I honestly... Now, I'll be fair, right? If they were gonna say... If they said tomorrow, they're like, we're bringing him back, I would think to myself, thank fucking God. Like, I'm so happy he's coming back. Because this is the kind of character... It's like Joffrey in Game of Thrones. Everybody fucking hates him. Everybody fucking hates this guy. And it's so great. It feels good. Yeah, it could be a comedy skit. Yeah, I would be so happy if they brought this guy back on the stage, man. It would be amazing. And she didn't just fuck herself over in the carrier. Johnny Depp and the rest of her so-called Walmart experts. Walmart experts. That's about it, man. He was entertaining as fuck. Yeah, he was very entertaining. I think that we can all say that for sure. Regardless of this, yes, obviously the psychiatrist David Bowie is a little bit more, relaxed and mellow. And this guy, you could make an argument, there's definitely an entertainment value to it, but there's a lot of entertainment values of watching cars crash. I think everybody slows down to see one of those. It doesn't necessarily mean that you want to be there. You know what I mean? And so how much time left with both parties? I have no idea. I think she'll probably calculate it at the end. I would assume Johnny Depp's team will probably have 5 to 7 hours left after this. That's what I would pretty much guess. He's entertaining for the wrong reasons. Yes, exactly. He certainly was. And it's just so fucking funny, man. Oh my god. Scandal versus Radagast? Yeah, that's just about right. Yeah, it's Gandalf versus Radagast. Yeah, he just shows up, pull them by squirrels, start talking to the squirrels. He's like, yeah, definitely not 30 yet. No, this guy said he was 59. And, yeah, it's crazy. Because, remember whenever they asked this guy about the Goldwater rule? And they're like, so what is the Goldwater rule? Ah, well, it's this thing Yeah, I mean, you know what? I mean, if it was a thing, then we couldn't even be here. So I might as well just say whatever, right? I mean, shit. You know what I mean? Like, that's all it was. Looks like Junkrat, low-key. I don't know about that. Let's see here. Depp Twitter said he changed his name recently. Really? Okay. Let me go back and double-check this. And, let's see here. And, dude, what's this here? I want to go back and double-check this here. Thoughts, see a difference. People are tagging me. Oh, no. There's a lot of these, aren't there? There's apparently another. I know this might be a huge shock to you guys, but if you can guess this, it's in America. There's been another shooting, a school shooting in America. Wow, what a shock that is, huh? Yeah, I'll talk about that after this is all over. But yeah, it was in Texas too, and we'll see how things go. And check that umbrella guy. I'll look at that in a bit. Shocker. It's just, bro. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to acknowledge it. Like, I really hope that, like, this time they don't go through, like, a fucking, a big expose on the shooter, you know what I mean? Like, who gives a fuck, man? Like, Jesus Christ. I really wish they would not do that, but doing it again brings in more viewership, etc., and so I'm unfortunately expecting that's going to happen. And so let's see here. I want to go back and double check this stuff, okay, and let's see here, fuck, where the fuck is all this stuff? Alright, so let's see what this guy said, the umbrella guy said after they just brought him up in the middle of the fucking court, man. Alright, let's see this right here. Can someone cross that with Mr. Knight about my channel? That was nuts, I'd appreciate it. Yeah, I bet. Well, when all this is over, I'd love to interview Johnny Depp and Alan Waldman. The majority of mainstream media amplified Amber Heard's lies, the hate, they buried Depp. It'd be nice to grab a shovel and remedy their error. Well, I think that it would be nice to replace them with the shovel. That's what my opinion is bury them instead. Because I look at these people, it's that these are people who will stop at nothing but to completely have autonomy and control over the narrative. And I think that the only way to respond to that is with absolute and unflinching aggression. Basically, you should never back down, never concede anything, always be as aggressive as you possibly can. Because if you don't do it, they'll do the same thing to you. You're either a predator or you're prey with these sets of people. I think they're absolute parasites, and so I hope that he does do that. Absolutely. I'll talk about the school shooting thing afterwards. I will. There's not going to be a lot for me to say, I'm going to be honest, guys, because I'm not going to get into the person or anything like that. I think that from now on, whenever I cover like any school shooting thing or whatever, I don't want to show any more pictures of the person. I don't even want to use their name. I don't want to use their name or show any pictures of them or anything like that. It's just that there's no reason to. I think that every single time that happens, like, I think a good question, right, is that do you think that the extensive media coverage and, you know, all of that of the first guy, the Buffalo bitch boy, that shot up everybody over there, do you think that this could have possibly spurred on this subsequent one? It's impossible to say, and I think it's really death by 1,000 cuts whenever you look at the intent behind one of these shooters. And also, you can't rule out the fact that they're probably just fucking crazy. And so that's important to think as well. Because, by the way, it wasn't a school shooting, it was an elementary school shooting. So this is like a straight up depraved fiend. But either way, I think that it's something I don't want to do anymore, and I just want to avoid giving that any sort of oxygen. I think that's what it comes down to. And shooting large media coverage always followed by another shooting with every 72 hours. Oh, isn't that interesting? Yeah, it's like I always wonder, like, am I doing the right thing by even talking about it at all? You know what I mean? Like, how do you balance that out? I don't know, but I think that it should be a conversation. It's impossible to be certain one way or another. And knowing profile of person might be useful. Name is irrelevant, I agree. Yeah, I think the name is irrelevant. It depends on what the context is. But yeah, I think it would be fucking amazing. I don't think this is going to happen. Like, what do you guys think the odds are that Johnny Depp is going to do a bunch of interviews after this court case? I find it to be very unlikely. What I think almost everybody has had happen is that after their court case is over, they are informed by their lawyers not to talk about it. Don't talk about it. Don't get into it. It doesn't matter even if there was a verdict. Like, just don't go any farther with it. So I consider this to be a very, very low probability. And it's not that that's necessarily a bad idea either. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying that, you know, it's almost like you don't want to pick at a scab. You know, it's already, even if you're cut, you're only going to make it worse. So that's what kind of makes sense. And he hates interviews? Yeah, I'm not surprised. I think that there's a lot of times that people get interviewed, especially whenever you're a big celebrity like he is, and you have controversies that are following you. There are going to be a lot of people who try to they try to like catch you, right? They ask you 5 normal questions, and then number 6 is some like weird tabloid shit or whatever. And it's like, yeah, obviously that would fucking annoy me too. And yeah, got like unironic gotcha Andes, but on a much bigger scale. Is yourself lucky you didn't get shot in the school you went at? I consider myself lucky I didn't get shot at school. No, it's statistically an incredibly improbable thing to have happen. I would consider myself much more lucky that I haven't gotten in a car wreck, if you want me to be honest. Yeah, I mean, it's like school shootings are bad because of like just how terrible they fundamentally are, but they're also extremely uncommon. Thankfully, they are extremely uncommon. Whenever you look at the scope of like how many people are involved in them and how many people there are compared to like other bad things, I think all the time about that I'm very lucky. I've never been in like a big car accident. I've never really broken a bone or anything like that. I've never, maybe my finger, I don't know. I never got it x-rayed. I have no idea, but there's obviously something wrong with it. But all I'm saying is that Asmon Chattergay, hey, thanks a lot for the 5 subs. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, so thoughts on media spinning to Jason Momoa reaction as millions of people are being tricked by this false video? Well, it's like he doesn't want to be involved. I think that's probably what it comes down to. It doesn't really matter whether it's video or not. Like, he just doesn't want to be involved with it. Now, the problem is, like, whenever you're a celebrity, this is just the truth. Whenever you are a celebrity, and this is the same for streamers too. Like, streamers are no different. Do you guys remember, like, a good example of this is, like, remember whenever Ninja had, like, all these people that were doing these Snapchats of him, and it was like, you know, like him smiling, and it's like a really, really racist term, or like something like really awful that was like in the text, right? It was like a meme that people would do. They would keep creating more and more and more of these. And they told I think it was like his wife, or maybe Ninja's wife, I forgot which one, said for people to please stop this. But the truth is that you can't stop it. Like, you can maybe DMCA the picture and maybe get it shut down, etc. But the truth is, like, that's not really going to happen. Dex, thanks for 5 subs, man. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. So it's like once you put yourself out there and everything, you just open yourself up to like all kinds of criticism, mischaracterizations, and bullshit. And of course, you know, I talked about defamation earlier, and I think that's important to have people that can preserve their image to a certain degree. But I think whenever you're talking about like internet memes and shit like that, it's just what's going to happen. Like, for example, so I did Vaulton, this is like maybe 4 days ago, and there was a huge thread about it on the Lost Ark subreddit. And guess what they were saying? I'm a bad carried whale that sucks at video games. Now, does that make me feel good? Well, no, of course not. Why would I want to be called that? That sucks. But the truth is that they're going to say what they're going to say. And it doesn't matter, like, I'm not going to argue with them. I'm not going to say, like, oh, true or not true, right? Yeah, in general, of course I wailed on the game, right? I did it for content, etc. But you can't get rid of that. People are going to talk. That's what's going to happen. Now, obviously, if it's on my fucking Reddit, it's on my stream, people are saying it directly to me, yeah, I'll block them, right? Fuck them. Get out of here. Don't talk about this shit somewhere else. But on a general level, it's just not something that I can do anything about. And that's all there is to it. And so, let's just say you suck at every game, fuck them? Well, maybe I do. The thing is that it is not, it doesn't matter. And I think that's what a lot of people don't really understand, is that at the end of the day, do you know how to get rid of pretty much almost all internet hate? Beyond like the bad stuff that I don't mean to downplay in any way. Here's how to get rid of any internet hate. Watch this. Wow. It's gone. Holy shit. Yeah, all these people hate me on Twitter, but my room sure looks fine. Yeah, everything else is fine. My house isn't burning down yet, and everything's okay. You just turn around and don't read it. That's all there is to it. Just close your eyes. Yes. That's unironically the right thing to do in a lot of... I think that in like 95% of circumstances of people getting butthurt over shit on the internet, the solution to that butthurt is to turn around. It doesn't mean that there isn't a 1 to 5%, but that also doesn't mean that these are equal sizes. The majority of it, just deal with it. That's the way it goes. Argument loses more weight every day as culture continues to develop its reliance on the internet and social media. But that doesn't lose any value because tabloids have existed for years that did the same thing that live stream fails does today. Just because it's on the internet doesn't mean that it's new. All of this stuff happened before. There were, different presidents from I'm talking about 1700s, 1800s, and they were made fun of for being gay. Oh my God, they're gay. This has happened all the time with these weird fucking rumors and stupid shit like this. There's no secret to this. This is always how things have been, and it's always the way things are gonna be. Yeah, town criers in the Middle Ages. It doesn't matter what the avenue is. It's always going to be the same thing, okay? Yeah, that's it. If you give it attention and amplifies it, look at Hassan. You're saying the shit doesn't linger in your head? Oh yeah, there are things that bother me. I don't like them. But the problem is there are a lot of things that I don't like that I can't do anything about. And I think it's important to try to separate yourself from things you can't do anything about. Accept it. It is what it is. Okay, here we go. There's some things that suck, though. Different things that happen to you, and it's man, I really fucking wish this didn't happen to me. But it did. That's all there is to it. There he is. There he is. All right, let's go. Amber, come on.
Thank you. You be seated. All right, next question.
Again.
Thank you. Dr. Shah, is the Goldwater rule limited to diagnoses?
It's not. It's includes all professional opinions.
Do you agree with Dr. Spiegel that the Goldwater rule doesn't apply to expert witnesses?
I don't agree, no.
How could Dr. Spiegel express an opinion without violating the Goldwater rule?
This has actually been a topic that's been written and published about. So it is possible for someone to give testimony about a matter without interviewing someone.
Yeah.
And there's certain sort of ways that it should be framed. So, for example, when Dr. Spiegel was testifying about the report that Mr. Depp was unable to recall these 3 objects, what he could have done is said that I have not personally examined Mr. Depp, so I can't speculate about his
disclaimers,
cognitive state or
yeah.
Ability to function cognitively. However, it is possible that someone who's not able to recall 3 objects could have issues related to substance use, which was what his opinion was. However, what he should have done in expressing his opinion is then have followed up to say that in order to really establish whether these were relevant and significant cognitive deficits, Mr. Depp should have had psychological testing to establish the nature of these deficits. And he should also have added that there are other potential explanations for these findings. So, for example, it's possible that Mr. Depp...
Objection, Your Honor. He's now going past the investigation.
We're looking
I think he's just opining as to, or is responding to Dr. Spiegel's testimony yesterday.
Yeah, he's making us look bad.
As to what Dr. Spiegel could have said, but it's past the, whether he, about the
All right, if we can move on.
Okay.
Okay.
Who's qualified to give an opinion about cognitive deficits and processing speed?
It would have to be someone who could conduct the type of neuropsychological testing that I was mentioning. You can't establish the presence of cognitive deficits without
Objection,
a battery
Your
of
Honor.
tests.
Objection, again, this is beyond the cold water rule.
Overruled.
You can't establish cognitive deficits without appropriate neuropsychological testing. And that can only be done by a psychologist or neuropsychologist.
That makes sense,
So
yeah.
psychiatrists like Dr. Spiegel would be giving an opinion outside of his area of expertise if he gave an opinion about cognitive deficits that required psychological testing to be further evaluated.
Dr. Spiegel yesterday testified about the practice of forensic psychiatry. Do you recall that testimony?
Yes, I do.
What is forensic psychiatry?
Forensic psychiatry is a specialty of psychiatry that relates to matters on the intersection between psychiatry and the law. So, for
Okay.
example, what we're doing today is forensic psychiatry, where a psychiatrist comes into court and gives an opinion about a matter to help the court may come to an opinion.
Makes sense.
Are there professional standards that govern the practice of forensic psychiatry?
Yes, there are.
What are they?
And what organizations have issued those standards?
Oh,
One of the primary organizations that has issued guidelines about the practice of forensic psychiatry is called the American Academy of Psychiatry and the Law. This is an organization that represents forensic psychiatrists. And it has published guidelines about what constitutes an ethical and sound practice of doing a forensic assessment and providing a psychiatric opinion. So this guideline, I think was published in 2015, actually contains many elements that are consistent with the Goldwater Rule. So, for example, it states that for a forensic assessment to be done, there has to be informed consent,
which was
and
not
there
there.
should be a very thorough, comprehensive evaluation that would include reviewing past records, past psychiatric history. It would include doing what's called a mental status examination, which is a careful evaluation of someone's mood,
Okay.
cognition, things of that nature. And the guidelines do state that it is reasonable or permitted to provide an opinion without an evaluation. But if you're going to do that, there's some things that you have to really make clear in your opinion when you express that opinion.
Okay.
And the first is that you have to acknowledge the limitations of your opinion and not, like Dr. Spiegel, say that his opinion was held with a degree of medical certainty.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
You have to explain
Disclaimer.
what's missing, what data you did not have that you were not able to rely upon in coming to that opinion. You also have to talk about what additional information you would need to come to that opinion. And even though these guidelines say it's permissible to do this, the text is still, I think, not fully in support of psychiatrists doing this. So their statements are that opinions rendered without a proper database, which is what we as psychiatrists rely upon to make diagnoses and give opinions, professional opinions, is questionable and not generally recommended.
Did you form an opinion about Dr. Spiegel's testimony with respect to these practice guidelines?
Yes, I did.
So he didn't contextualize
And what is your
it
opinion?
at all.
Well, my opinion is that he did not follow those guidelines. So, for example, he did not have consent.
True.
He did not do even a basic evaluation of Mr. Depp.
True.
When he gave his opinions, as I just mentioned, he said they were opinions that he had to a degree of medical certainty. And he did not make any statements about what other additional information he would have wanted to make that opinion. So, for example,
That's true.
when asked about should neuropsychological testing be performed, he said most patients don't have access to that, which is actually not at all true. I mean, every medical school has neuropsychologists that can do testing. So I think that was an unfortunate statement.
That might be a cultural difference.
So I think those are the primary ways in which the Goldwater Rule was violated, and the practice guidelines were not adhered to.
Uh-huh.
Dr. Shah, yesterday
Very
Dr.
unfortunate,
Spiegel was
yeah.
talking about correlation and causation. What is the difference between correlation and causation?
Oh, here we go again.
Objections? It's not in this designation.
It is. We can approach and I can show you.
All right.
All right, there it is. Yes, it is. There it is. Okay. Wow. Objection, I'm losing. It's just, yeah, you like that one. Yeah, it is. It's just, yep, and I will show you. Let's go. It's bad, man. I cannot wait. Honestly, I'm really excited to see what the cross-examination of this guy is going to be. It's like, are they going to try to, like, discredit him? Or, like, say this guy doesn't know what he's talking about? Like, I feel like it's really easy to do for their witnesses, right? But, like, these guys... I mean, this guy is this is a real wizard, right? Like, we just had cosplayers before. Right, this guy actually knows what the hell's going on. Yeah, they don't have a real anti-wizard. No, they don't. Also very low on time. Yeah.
Go ahead, Dr. Shah.
Yes, so the difference between a correlation and causation, correlation is a statistical analysis of
Yes.
a relationship between two different factors. So in Dr. Spiegel's testimony, he talked about, there being a correlation between opinions he had about Mr. Depp, his narcissistic personality traits, his substance abuse, things of that nature. So a correlation doesn't say anything about whether or not these factors caused that, the behavior he was discussing. Perhaps one of the easiest ways I could describe this difference between correlation and causation is if we look at the issue of measles, if you bear with me. So there's a correlation between being young and catching measles.
Yeah.
Now we know that measles is not caused by being young. Measles is caused by a virus. But young children have not been exposed to the virus. They don't have the immunity, so they have a higher rate of measles.
Makes sense.
So the difference statistically is, well, the difference is between causation and correlation is illustrated by that example. So another way I might put this is if we had 100 people in a room, just bringing it back to the issue of IPV that Dr. Spiegel was testifying about. Let's say we had 70 people who had all the risk factors for IPV and 30 people who had no risk factors for IPV. So what can we say about those 70 people? We can't say that any single one of those people has perpetrated IPV, even though they may have all the risk factors.
Right, yeah.
And if we look at the 30 people who have no risk factors, we also can't say whether or not they have perpetrated IPV.
Right, obviously.
So the
Common
actual
sense.
presence of risk factors for IPV that Dr. Spiegel was talking about, they say absolutely nothing about what happened in this case.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Shah. Nothing further.
Once again.
Cross-examination?
Uh-oh. Yeah, it's the implication. Again, that's what I said.
Good afternoon, Dr. Shah.
Good afternoon.
You're not offering any opinion as to Mr. Depp's psychology, correct?
That's correct.
And you testified a lot about the Goldwater rule. You know of no case where an expert has been excluded from testifying based on the Goldwater rule, correct?
I don't know about the whole universe of cases. It's possible, but I don't know personally about one.
And you, before this case, you've never offered an opinion on the Goldwater rule before, correct?
That's correct.
And you've never written an article on the Goldwater rule, correct?
I have not.
And you've never given a presentation on the Goldwater rule, correct?
I have not.
And you've never been on any committees regarding the Goldwater rule, correct?
I have not.
Okay.
And you agree that you've testified that there are exceptions to the Goldwater rule about having to interview the subject, right?
Yes.
And you understand that Dr. Spiegel requested to meet with Mr. Depp twice, but Mr. Depp declined, correct?
I'm aware of that.
And Dr. Spiegel stated in his designation and at trial yesterday that he did not meet with Mr. Depp, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Can we put up Defendant's Exhibit 1904?
Okay, here we go. So, yeah, it's just,
Dr.
that's what
Shaw,
he's going to try and do.
have you seen the opinions of the Ethics Committee on the Principles of Medical Ethics?
Yes.
Okay. And if you could turn to 79 of the PDF, it's actually, thank you. You see where it's highlighted here?
Yes.
And it says, psychiatrists have also argued that the Goldwater rule is not sound because psychiatrists are sometimes asked to render
Objection,
opinions.
hearsay.
He's an expert. Without conducting an examination of an individual. Examples occur in particular in certain forensic cases and consultative roles. This objection attempts to subsume the rule with its exceptions. What this objection misses,
what he
however,
said.
is that the rendering of expertise and or an opinion in these contexts is permissible because there is a court authorization for the examination or an opinion without examination. And this work is conducted within an evaluative framework, including parameters for how and where the information may be used or disseminated. You see that?
I do, yes.
And this court authorized Dr. Spiegel to testify in this case, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further.
All right. Redirect.
Dr. Shaw, Mr. Nadelhoff just asked you about the court authorization of Mr. Depp's evaluation. Are you aware that the court has twice denied Ms. Heard's request for an evaluation of Mr. Depp?
I heard that yesterday in testimony, yes.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further.
All right. Thank you, sir. You can either have a seat or you can leave. Thank you. Your next witness.
The best part about that is that I bet that lawyer guy actually thought he did something. Like he really thought he's like, I'm gonna shut this smart talking British guy up. Yeah, we're gonna shut this dude down. And man, that just did not happen. He thought. He's like, what the fuck? They're getting this testimony from it's from the moon. Yeah. It's from a microwave. Yeah, it's the microwave that Johnny Depp slammed. Yeah, all right, here he is. Yeah, he really thought. Oh my God. Testimony from the microwave. Okay, so what's next? I'm ready. Like, that guy, it was just so obvious what they were trying to do, you know what I mean? Like, have you ever written an article about the Goldwater rule?
Please state your name and address for the record. Jennifer Howell, Los Angeles, California. And what is your occupation?
Okay.
I run the Art of Elysium, CEO of the Art of Elysium.
Here we go.
Let me just go back. Now, you've indicated that Whitney lived with you from January 2015 May 2015 to April 2016. Are you absolutely certain about those dates?
I'm certain, yes. She came and went at different periods, but all of her stuff moved out of my house April 2016.
All right.
And I'm sorry, did you say you were 100% certain of that? Could you answer my question?
Yes, she did go back to Amber and Johnny's at different points, that she was still living with me during that time.
The question I asked, because you were talking at the same time Ms. Vasquez was giving an objection, was I believe that you said you were 100% certain of those dates. Is that correct?
Same with me.
Wow.
All right.
Oh, you previously testified that you were the CEO for Art of Elysium. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And are you still currently in that position?
Yes, I am.
And how long have you been the CEO for Art of Elysium?
She's been it for a while. Well,
Was I believe that you said you were 100% certain of those dates. Is that correct?
All right, we're going to go back. We're going to watch this one instead, okay?
All right.
Oh, you previously testified that you were the CEO for Art of Elysium. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And are you still currently in that position?
Yes, I am.
And how long have you been the CEO for Art of Elysium?
Okay.
I am the founder of the organization, so we did our first workshop in August of 1997.
Is that better?
Filed the legal paperwork in February of 98 to set up a 501c3. So I guess since the beginning of the charity.
Okay, good. Yeah,
So
all right,
when
great.
did you first meet Amber Heard?
At the Pineapple Express premiere
Okay, that was a
is
while
where I
ago.
met she and her sister Whitney.
All right.
Do you remember approximately what year that was?
I believe it was around 2008. I'm sure that could be pulled. It was the LA premiere. I think there was probably multiple premieres, but it was the Los Angeles premiere of Pineapple Express.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
Was Ms. Heard there with Mr. Depp?
No, this was long before.
James Franco, yep.
I was a guest of James Franco, and Amber was in the movie.
Okay.
And so I met she and her sister at to be specific, at the after party of the premiere.
Sure.
Did Ms. Enriquez end up working for Art of Elysium at some point?
Yes, she did.
What year did Ms. Enriquez begin working with Art of Elysium?
I believe it was in 2014. I don't have those documents right in front of me. I believe it was leading into the year Amber was receiving the award.
Mm-hmm.
And what was Ms. Enriquez's position at Art of Elysium?
Art salon manager, director.
Okay.
Does Ms. Enriquez still work for Art of Elysium?
No.
When did that end?
Oh, 2015, I believe.
All right.
Each time you saw Mr. Depp, did you ever see him doing any illicit, illegal drugs?
Never.
Okay.
Did you ever see him consuming excessive amounts of alcohol?
Never.
Did you ever see Mr. Depp appear intoxicated?
No.
Did Ms. Heard ever show you photographs of depicting injuries on her face or body?
No.
Oh, okay.
Did Ms. Heard ever tell you that Mr. Depp was abusive towards her?
No.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Depp paying your legal fees, Ms. Howell, for this deposition and the testimony you've provided in the UK action?
He is not.
Okay. That
Who
matters.
is?
Myself.
Okay. Okay.
Do you feel any particular sense of loyalty towards Mr. Depp?
None at all.
It's
Do you feel any sense of loyalty towards Ms. Heard?
like I don't know her
None at
either.
all.
Ms. Howell, do you recognize this check as the check that the Art of Elysium received on behalf of Ms. Heard for a donation, an anonymous donation of $250,000?
It's a lot of money.
Yes. Yes.
That's a whole lot of money.
I believe you testified previously that you understood that the anonymous donor was Elon Musk. Is that true?
Yes.
If I
Rocket
could please
Man.
have Exhibit 4 brought up. And for
Okay.
the record, it's based on JH 22 through 29.
Uh-huh. Donated 25 cents? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you put in a quarter. Why not?
What for?
Yeah, you're gonna help them out. Windows updates? Yeah, that was them. I'm pretty sure.
Do you recognize this document, Ms. Howell? And if you need to scroll through the 8 pages, feel free.
Okay. What is the document? A little bit confused.
Can you scroll down?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I recognize that.
And what is this?
That is an email, I believe, I sent to Whitney.
Okay. So is she sending an
Scrolling
email?
up to
All
the
right.
first page of this attachment. Who is Marcel?
Parasol?
Sure, Carousel.
He is one of my oldest friends in Los Angeles who has served as a board member of the Art of Elysium and is one of my biggest confidants here in LA.
Okay, I'm going to skip to the other
course
one.
of my career.
There's better audio.
2020 at 11:20. Excuse me, at 11:02 a.m.
Uh-huh.
It is.
This is a true and accurate copy of an email
It's
exchange
Marcel Wallace.
that you sent to Ms. Enriquez.
Yes, I believe I'm the one who gave that. Yes, it is.
Uh-huh.
And then did you forward this email exchange and the attachments to Marcel Parasol?
Yeah, I asked him to keep it for me.
Okay. Sure.
Why did you send this email and letter to Ms. Enriquez?
Because I've struggled very much with what to do in a situation that I love someone who I know is doing something very wrong, and I know that they're doing it because
That sucks.
they're trying to protect their sister,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to protect her, and I'm just trying to get her to wake up and do the right thing, which is tell the truth. It's the only thing that can help everybody involved in this case.
Mm-hmm. She's talking about Amber Heard's sister.
Ms. Howell, do you recall submitting a witness statement in the United Kingdom?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they basically just called to verify the witness statement that was submitted previously.
And do you recognize this document to be the witness statement and the declaration that you submitted in the UK? And if you want to scroll down to look at it.
Okay. Well, let's see it. Yeah, I think we read through this
Yes,
document,
I
guys.
recognize it.
I'm like 90% sure we did.
And at the first page,
I
do you
think
see
so.
a date on this document?
January 13th, 2021.
And is this document a true and accurate copy of the declaration that you submitted in the
Yeah.
UK proceeding on or about January 13th, 2021?
Yes.
And are all the statements in your UK declaration accurate and true?
I mean, yes, I signed it. Yes.
There it is.
All right, let's pull up what I believe was Depp Exhibit 9. It's been marked as Depp Exhibit 9.
Okay. Let's see it. I'll have to see what this is. I don't remember if I've seen this one before.
Exhibit 9.
Amber's furious? Yeah, she's not happy. We're moving around. Oh my god. I don't blame her. I'd be pissed too.
Ms. Howell, earlier you were shown this document. Scrolling to the end of it.
Uh-huh.
Can you go? Okay.
There.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did Mr. Waldman assist you in drafting this email?
Absolutely not.
Oh.
Did you speak with Mr. Waldman at all about drafting this email?
About writing an email? No. I did that on my own accord.
Okay.
Did you speak with Mr. Waldman at all about contacting the ACLU?
I do not recall having a conversation with him about that.
And Ms. Howell, you testified earlier that you received a check from Fidelity Charitable in January of 2018. Is that correct?
That's for the $250,000, right?
I don't know if I said the date.
Yeah.
But yes, I received an anonymous donation from that check that was submitted. Whatever it's on there, I just don't know the date off the top of my head.
And you testified that there was a letter sent along with that that said that it was in honor of Amber Heard?
Yes. Richard, I was guaranteed 20 minutes with him after being attacked for 3.5 hours by your side the last time. So I am going to stick by what I was told before entering this and what your side agreed to.
All right, your next witness.
They
Your Honor,
cut it right
Mr.
there.
Depp calls Candy Davidson Goldbraun, who is the corporate designee of the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles.
Oh,
All right, and that's by
boy.
deposition, is that correct?
She
Yes,
is
Your Honor.
the one who's going to talk about the
Ron, is it
pledge.
your understanding that you're here to testify today on behalf
Thanks,
of the Children's Hospital?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So as of June 2018, had any payments been made by Ms. Heard to the Children's Hospital in connection with the $3.5 million pledge, aside from the original $100,000 check from Mr. White in August of 2016?
Yes, there was a payment, a gift on January 9th of 2018.
Okay.
And what amount
Great
is
audio.
that gift that you're referring to?
$250,000.
Oh, $250,000. Big
Okay,
money.
and was that gift made by Ms. Heard or on Ms. Heard's behalf?
By Ms. Heard.
Okay, and what are you basing that statement on?
By the check that we received from Fidelity. Fidelity charity that came to Children's Hospital.
Fidelity charity.
What is this document?
The letter to Mr. White from myself inquiring about further installments on the pledge.
Yeah.
That had not been fulfilled.
And why did you write this to Mr. White on June 14th, 2019?
I was trying to figure out if there were any other payments coming from Mr. White to fulfill the pledge, because because Children's Hospital Los Angeles had not received any other correspondence from him.
And what is this document?
Where'd they go? Where's the money?
It is a letter to Ms. Gottlieb from myself on behalf of Children's Hospital Los Angeles, inquiring about additional gifts, pledge payment installments.
This letter appears to be directed to Miss Amber Heard, care of Jody Gottlieb. Is that correct?
Correct.
Who's Jody Gottlieb?
In the Children's Hospital Los Angeles records, Jody Gottlieb was our contact for Miss Amber Heard.
Ms. Goldbraun, why did you send this letter to Ms. Heard and Ms. Gottlieb?
I was trying to see if the pledge was going to be fulfilled or not.
Yeah, we saw this.
In your experience, is it common practice for anonymous donors, when making donations, to, in one paragraph, state that they wish to remain anonymous, and in the very next paragraph, identify themselves?
Yes,
That is common?
it is common for donors to want to remain anonymous publicly, but allow the charity to know who they are.
Okay.
Between
That makes
June
sense.
2018
Yeah,
and the
that
date
makes
on
sense.
which you sent the letters to
totally makes
Ms.
sense.
Heard and Mr. White in June of 2019, were any additional funds received from Ms. Heard?
No.
Okay, so as of June 2018, a total of $250,000 had been received, as far as the Children's Hospital is concerned, from Ms. Heard. And that was the same amount that had been donated a year later in June of 2019. Is that accurate? As of the date of this deposition, March 30th, 2021, how much in total has Ms. Heard donated to the Children's Hospital?
For this particular guest? I mean, in her lifetime?
From 2016 to present.
$250,000.
It's a lot of money.
Ms. Goldbrun, you recall we were speaking about this letter a few minutes ago?
Uh-huh.
All right, and this was the letter that you sent to Ms. Heard, correct?
Correct.
Did you ever get a response to this letter?
No.
What a surprise.
As of October of 2018, how much money had Ms. Heard directly donated to the Children's Hospital?
$250,000.
As of March 30th.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the end of that.
Sorry, I just realized. You said October 2018?
Uh-huh.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. $250,000.
Okay. As of March 30th, 2019, how much money had Ms. Heard directly donated to the Children's Hospital?
$250,000.
What is your understanding of the length of time over which Ms. Heard pledged the gift of $3.5 million to Children's Hospital?
There was no date arrangement with Ms. Heard to have this pledge paid off in a particular time.
If Ms. Heard were to pay this, the rest of the $3.5 million in 2 years or 5 years, would Children's Hospital welcome that?
Of course.
CHLA welcomes every and any donation that comes its way.
Has Amber Heard's pledge of the $3.5 million to Children's Hospital expired, to your knowledge?
Expired?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
She said she didn't sign
expired.
it. They said she didn't sign the pledge before earlier today.
Witness, or?
Remember that shit?
Your Honor, I think we've concluded our witnesses for today. We will have more live witnesses tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that'll be the end of your day for today. Again, do not do any outside research. Do not discuss the case with anybody, and we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., okay? Thank you.
Okay, I can see Judge is already happy now. The moment she got to end 30 minutes early, she's like, hey, you know what, everybody, it's okay. All right, that's great. Yeah, we're ending early, thank God. All right, I'm sure she was happy about that. Oh my God, so we have some stuff to talk about. Like, in my opinion, I was very disappointed with the Jennifer Howell thing. Like, I thought she was gonna drop some fucking shit. Okay, I really did. I was expecting to have some crazy shit happen.
You want to have a seat for just a moment because we do have a few proffers.
What is this?
Be done. Just for the record, we talked about it earlier. I will charge the 30 minutes extra time for today to the plaintiff's team so we can stay on time.
Understood, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. And I believe, Mr. Rodenborn, you had some proffers you wanted to do for testimony.
We did,
for
Your Honor,
for the
testimony
record.
in a few weeks. It's Mr. Nadelhoff is actually going to
Okay, Mr. Nadelhoff, if you want to proffer testimony for the record as to the testimony that the court has sustained objections.
All right, let's see it. Minus 30 minutes. Well, it's technically their fault for not having the witnesses there and planned out. So I think that makes sense.
Okay, that's fine. You can stay there as long as you stay close to the microphone.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Like it's like that's what she would look at it
Your
from
Honor,
her perspective.
what I will do is I'll explain what we're proffering the evidence for, and then we have copies.
Good.
Which I'll provide to you. We'll provide them to you electronically, or I don't have another copy for you right now, but we'll provide.
That's fine. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, for Laurel Anderson, on March 31st, 2022, the defendant attempted to designate certain portions of the deposition testimony for trial. Dr. Laurel Anderson, a clinical psychologist who worked with Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp. Dr. Anderson testified in the therapy session. Ms. Heard reported to her that she was slapped by Mr. Depp, that he hit her in the head, had her hair pulled by Mr. Depp, kicked her in the leg, and that Mr. Depp gave Ms. Heard bruises. Ms. Heard also reported that Mr. Depp was the first to initiate any violence. Ms. Heard also reported that she hid in a bathroom to protect herself
Johnny,
from
the
Mr.
Elden
Depp.
Lord.
Ms. Heard
That's
also
right.
reported to Dr. Anderson that
That's what he does.
Mr. Depp threw a phone at her on May
crazy,
21st,
right?
2016, hit her and held her hair. Ms. Heard also reported to Dr. Anderson that she was a victim to Mr. Depp's abuse. The testimony is contained in Dr. Anderson's deposition transcript, which is Exhibit A. The court also excluded records of Dr. Anderson from Ms. Heard's and Mr. Depp's therapy sessions and a treatment summary, which are Exhibits B and C. Mr. Depp objected to Dr. Anderson's testimony as described in medical records, stating that they were hearsay and that they did not fall into any exceptions, including statements for purposes of medical treatment. The court sustained the objection on the grounds that the testimony and exhibits were hearsay. For Dr. Kipper, on March 31st, 2022, the defendant attempted to designate certain portions of the deposition testimony for trial of Dr. David Kipper, Mr. Depp's physician. Dr. Kipper testified Ms. Heard voiced concerns of Mr. Depp's behavior while on drugs and alcohol, that Mr. Depp tried to fight and push Ms. Heard while he was attempting detox on his island, and that she found lots of cocaine in February 2016. Dr. Kipper also testified he told Mr. Depp to, quote, bury the dragon, which referred to the bad feelings that Mr. Depp has inside him. This testimony is contained in Dr. Kipper's deposition transcript, which is Exhibit D. Dr. Kipper also testified about an email he wrote explaining Mr. Depp's detox treatment. In the email, Dr. Kipper wrote to Mr. Depp's sister that Mr. Depp had fundamental issues with anger, romanticized the drug culture, and had no patience if his needs were not met. This email is Exhibit C. Exhibit E. Mr. Depp objected to Dr. Kipper's testimony and the email stating it was hearsay, that it did not fall into any exceptions, including statements for purposes of medical treatment. The court sustained the objection on the ground that the testimony and exhibits were hearsay. Deborah Lloyd. On March 31st, 2022, the defendant attempted to designate certain portions of the deposition testimony for trial of Debbie Lloyd, Mr. Depp's nurse. Ms. Lloyd testified Ms. Heard voiced concerns about Mr. Depp's behavior while on drugs and alcohol, and that Mr. Depp worked himself up into a rage and was trying to fight Ms. Heard while he was attempting detox on his island. This testimony is contained in Ms. Lloyd's deposition transcript, which is Exhibit F. Also, Ms. Lloyd kept nursing notes on these issues that she testified to, which is Exhibit G. Mr. Depp objected to Ms. Lloyd's testimony and portions of the nursing notes, stating it was hearsay that did not fall into any exceptions.
If this is going to go on for 30 minutes, I'm just going to go on to something else.
The court sustained the objection on the ground that the testimony and
more
portions
information
of the nursing notes were hearsay.
to look at. There's like a TMZ
Aaron
thing. I want to go over.
On March 31st and April 1st,
I'll give it 5 more minutes.
The defendant attempted to designate certain portions of the deposition testimony for trial of Ms. Filati, Ms. Heard's, and Mr. Depp's nurse. Ms. Filati testified that Ms. Heard reported to her on December 16th, 2015, that Mr. Depp headbutted Ms. Heard in the forehead. This also was contained in Ms. Filati's nursing notes, which is Exhibit H. Ms. Filati further testified that Ms. Heard reported being freaked out after the December 2015 incident and testified to text messages between herself and Ms. Heard, where Ms. Heard reported the incident of abuse. These text messages are Exhibits I, J, K, L, and M. Ms. Filati also testified that on May 21st, 2016, Ms. Heard reported that Mr. Depp became completely delusional and crazed and hit Ms. Heard in the face while she was on the phone with I.O. Tillett Wright. Ms. Filati testified to text messages reporting this as well, which are contained in Exhibit N. The testimony is contained in Ms. Filati's deposition transcript, which is Exhibit O. Mr. Depp objected to Ms. Filati's testimony, portions of the nursing notes, and the text messages referenced stating it was hearsay that did not fall into any exceptions, including statements for purposes of medical treatment. The court sustained the objections on the grounds that the testimony and portions of the nursing notes and the text messages were hearsay. Amy Banks, Dr. Amy Banks.
Okay, all right. So I think we pretty much got the idea. He's just listing out all the times that they had any sort of a thing, right? I mean, we know what happened. They're just basically explaining all of the different objections, etc. I don't think anybody really wants or cares to hear all of that. It's not contextual. Yeah, let's just move on. Anyway, so TMZ apparently, I don't know about panicking, right? But they filed an emergency motion to protect the person who sold the kitchen video. So isn't that an interesting thing? Wow. Let's go back and let's look at this here. So We represent EHM, owner and operator of TMZ, encloses a courtesy copy of the emergency motion for protective order that we are filing this afternoon with the clerk of the county of this matter. And opportunity to present our motion to the court. Yeah. All right, let's read this one here. I'm going to go ahead and open the image up so you guys can read the whole thing and see exactly what happened here. So yes, TMZ is trying to get this taken off. TMZ is a news organization that primarily covers entertainment and celebrity news. News is, I think, probably a gratuitous term here, but yes, sure. From time to time, TMZ has offered information by sources who wish to remain confidential. TMZ often accepts that information with the express understanding that TMZ will treat the source's identity as strictly confidential. In order to publish in the event information in public interest, TMZ and its journalists rely on journalist privilege, including embodied in Virginia, where the lawsuit is pending, and in California, to protect their identities of the sources. The media source privilege is central to the ability of journalists to properly investigate stories and safeguard individuals who provide information to them, or any media organization's confidential stories were subject to disclose in ordinary course, they would be less likely to provide information. Let's go back over here, and we're going to read the second half of this. And yeah, TMZ is looking to basically have their sources protected. If TMZ or any media organization's confidential sources were subject of disclosure in the ordinary course, they would be less willing to provide information. I don't really see. I mean, like with this, I don't really see a downside here. People less likely to provide celebrity gossip to TMZ. Wow, what a fucking shame. I can't believe that. It's horrible, isn't it? Yeah, wow. Okay, it sounds like this sounds like two birds with one stone to me. But let's go back. We're going to read the rest of this. TMZ published an article. Johnny Depp goes off on Amber, smashes wine bottle. The video of Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp, accompanied by the article, can be seen here. The video is provided to journalists at TMZ by a confidential source. TMZ promised this source that it would maintain their confidentiality and would not disclose their name or any other information about them. This source has not, at any time during they provided the video, waived their right of confidentiality or indicated to TMZ that it was released from its promise of confidentiality. Morgan Tremine was an assignment manager at the time. He's no longer an employee. He had nothing to do with the receipt of the video. On information and belief, he lacks firsthand knowledge of the identity of the confidential source. To the extent that Mr. Tremine purports to know the identity of the TMZ's confidential source, his information would be based on rumor and conjecture at best. Okay. So let's see what else the rest of this is. Again, this is the main posts that they have here. So take a look at this. Emergency motion to intervene by EHM Productions for a limited purpose of asserting journalists' privilege. So basically, TMZ is trying to shut down this guy. The whole argument also protects whistleblowers. This can't be broken just for Depp to get justice. He's not that important. I think that, like, to an extent, I'd have to really think about that, and like I don't really know what the answer is, but I would say in this specific circumstance, I don't really care about their confidentiality or anything like that. I don't view celebrity gossip as the same thing as being a whistleblower of, let's say, NSA. I just don't think these are the same thing. And to be honest with you, yes, maybe this should not happen categorically. I don't have enough information about this. I haven't thought about it, to be honest. But I will tell you one thing. I don't give a fuck if they break their confidentiality here. It doesn't fucking matter. And in my opinion, I'd like to see more of this stuff happen, because let's read the article, the title for this. Johnny Depp goes off on Amber, smashes wine glass bottle. I'm sorry, but if you want to talk about journalistic integrity, this is just a fucking tabloid. Let's be honest. I don't want to hear about journalistic fucking integrity from TMZ. It's so annoying. Now, yes, you're right. Categorically, we might have to uphold this, and this could be something that we just kind of have to say, well, you know what? This is the way things go. But overall, I think that I hate tabloids and these celebrity things. I really don't like them. I'm not a fan of them. How they just print out these stories without even verifying them. There's no way that they can really prove what happened. They clearly have their own conjecture inside of it, and that's basically it. I'm not a fan, and I think that it's a violation of those people's rights and their privacy. And I think that even if you are a celebrity, you should have a right to privacy. And places like TMZ, who it's their entire business model to violate that privacy, I I think, are an affront to that, and I don't think that should be possible. That's what my opinion is. I don't like it, and that's really all there is to say. Yeah, let's be honest. What's this here? This is for Amber Heard's benefit. Well, I think it was probably for Amber Heard's benefit for sure, but it's also for TMZ's benefit, because it would make people less likely to provide information and sources like this to TMZ if what happens is that they get exposed for it. I mean, they are right categorically. I think so. Even though I don't necessarily care, I do think that they are technically right about that. But yeah, that's it. TMZ News isn't the public's best interest. Exactly. Yeah, I think so too. TMZ owns copyright to Johnny Depp video without Johnny Depp's consent. It's pretty absurd. That's actually a good point. Yeah, to be honest, that's actually a very good point. They like it was recorded of him without his consent, and Johnny Depp he's asleep. No, he's not asleep. He's chilling, man. School shooting in Uvalde, Texas. Yeah, I know that. Isn't it different, though, if it was illegally recorded? Isn't it beneficial for Amber to see who's on her team leaking information? It's her video, isn't it? How can someone else own it? I do find that, like, yeah, I'd have to really think about that, and, like, I don't really know how far that thinking is even going to go, because I'm not a copyright lawyer, but it does seem very odd that somebody can have a video recorded of them privately and then sold, and then that person is not able to even have the copyright of that video or anything like that, especially whenever it's in their own home. It's something completely fucking different. Unmute? Okay.
Working with Jamie about some exhibits. There's some that were, both sides noted that were in evidence that are not. So I want to make sure everybody gets everything cleared up. You're caught up?
I think he's just going to keep doing the list.
All right, just keep that going so we can get that, make sure that's taken care of. As far as time left, Sammy, today, I can give you a rough estimate for two reasons. One, you had some depositions, so make sure you give the breakdowns to Sammy about those. And two, Sammy wasn't here today. He had a mandatory CLE that he had to do, so I just did a rough estimate, and I want to qualify that as a rough estimate.
Yeah.
But it looks like the plaintiff has used about 5 hours today, and the defendant used about 1 hour and 15 minutes, is what I have, okay? And again, that's a rough estimate, so don't expect them to be the same, but Sammy's going to get to it this evening and send you an email this evening with the actual accurate times, okay? Anything else?
No, thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right.
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. We'll see you in the morning.
You too. Thank you.
Okay, there it is. All right.